I don't want to be a product of my environment. I want my environment to be a product of me.
Prestige Living Podcast. So with that, who do you want to be?
Hello, welcome to Prestige Living. This is Jay O'Brien with another segment of Be Bold. As you're listening to this right now, Monday, November 16th, 2015, there have been some incredibly shocking events that have been coming through our news feeds, our social media channels, TV networks, etc., around a few horrible tragedies. And between the recent events in Paris and Baghdad, Beirut, Japan, the total death count now, last I heard, was hovering right around 115,000 people. And I think what's even perhaps more shocking than just this number alone is the fact that only a fraction of these individuals, if you think about it, were killed by natural causes, as opposed to another human being intentionally inflicting the pain on another one. It's beyond words. I can't even express how I feel about it. And as we mourn and we naturally reflect on our own lives and our own purpose for living, and you almost feel guilty moving forward so casually when such horrific pain has been caused around the globe. So the message today is titled Bridging the Gap. I want you to think about this for a minute. I'm sure if you're listening to this, you can relate to being stubborn on some level. I know I definitely can. In fact, I'm probably one of the worst with this. Whether it's my tenacity to win or to compete, there are radically stubborn bones in my body, and I'm aware of this. And we all have this to some extent. But today I want to talk about consciously removing that stubborn behavior in certain circumstances. Situations that can make all the difference in the world by simply swallowing your pride and moving forward as necessary. So let me explain. We've all had blowouts with people, right? So family, friends, significant others, you name it. Oftentimes, in fact, most, these heated disputes end without resolution. You know, you just get into an argument. It's mostly just two people speaking their mind or really their heart so passionately until both parties sort of just stop. And maybe they go separate ways, you know, maybe they go to bed, whatever. And then the fire eventually will cool off. The next day comes and slowly you start to build back up to being normal. If you're in a relationship or you've had a dispute with a family member or whatnot, I'm sure you can relate to this as I'm reading it. This also happens in cases, especially in relationships, or one person gains leverage over the other. It could even be for something ridiculously stupid, like falling asleep before sex, or being 15 minutes late to something. But it causes an overreaction on one side, and because the person at fault is vulnerable and apologetic, the other person feels a sense of control and power, even if it's just for a moment. And rather than accepting the apology and just moving forward, it becomes an addiction to the power to continue to want to hear the apology or see the actions that make up for whatever it was. And it sounds ridiculous, but we all know that this is like how people are when they're passive aggressive. People like to feel wanted, and you know, what an unhealthy and weird way to live, but we do it. We're irrational human beings and we're acting on emotion. The same goes for solving a problem in the previous example. The problem is hours and sometimes days now have been wasted for the simple reason that each person is too stubborn to just squash it, be cordial, and remove the passive aggressive behavior entirely. You know what I'm talking about. When you ask someone, what's wrong? And they say, oh, nothing, or nothing, I'm fine. All that's happening is when you do that, you're just prolonging the inevitable solution for no reason other than your own desire to remain in control of the situation. But here's the real issue. We're being very, very irresponsible with our irrational reactions or ways in which we handle these unfavorable situations. We're being irresponsible because we're acting entitled to one thing, and that's time. We're not valuing the minutes for what they are, and instead we're taking them for granted, carelessly wasting them and flushing moments down the drain with people that we love simply to satisfy our own ego. But what happens when those hours or those days become the final ones you were able to share? What happens when you've now ended things on a bad note and you're unable to deliver the apology you should have expressed in the beginning? What if this one person was in Paris or Japan or Beirut or Baghdad? That's what you would call real regret. So here's the challenge. Bridge the gap. You get into an argument with your boyfriend or girlfriend, you're both upset with each other, you've expressed your reasoning, you've had your circular argument, and it's basically a finished conversation. Instead of leaving the room, going to bed angry, or whatever stubborn behavior you're used to, substitute that for a kiss or a hug or a short list of 3 things that you love about the other person. Just watch how quickly the entire situation gets resolved. You'll probably even forget about what you were fighting about. You'll feel friction and reluctance in the beginning by doing this, but it's only because of your ego that's getting in your way. Rise above that. The same goes for a dispute with a family member, someone who is perhaps a generation or 2 older or younger than you, where you two don't and you won't see eye to eye on the logic of the argument, and again, it will go around and around in circles. Or one party refuses to concede out of stubbornness. This is your chance now to end it. Give it a few minutes, walk back to the situation, and just say, I love you, Mom, or I love you, Dad. And just both of you will be doing both of you an enormous favor of gifting yourself more time with one another rather than wasting it. Bridge the gap. Don't stay angry. Resolve the problem. And be bold.
If you would like to be on the Prestige Living podcast or know someone that would be a great guest, go to www.prestigelivingpodcast.com. We'd love to hear your story.